Let me share my screen. Okay. So once again, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the 7th day of the training. Today and tomorrow, we'll be working on Tableau. Tableau, again, has a lot of similarity with Power BI. Now, there are two questions. One is, how are they different? The second is, what type of job roles are available? Now, for the second one, it's quite simple because if you go to, let's say, naukri.com, that will give you a fair sense of what organizations, what type of profiles they're offering. So for example, if I type Tableau here, you can see the number of jobs available. And you can also sort of filter out the ones that are relevant to you. For example, business intelligence, I think this makes sense. It has a little bit of SQL, visualization, dashboard, business intelligence in it. So more on the lines of an MBA student and what you would do. On the other hand, if I look at data analyst, this is more on the hardcore data analytics side of it. So they're asking for Python, SQL, data engineering, Snowflake, and so on. So this is some work that you will have to put in and sort of filter and try and see what sort of roles are there, what are they looking for. Now this helps in two ways. One, it obviously helps you prepare and put your effort in the right direction. The other is that it helps you during the interview because you are able to just read out what is there in the profile and tell it to the recruiter. I'll give you an example. Let us say tomorrow Unilever comes for an interview and they are doing some profile related to data. It might be a hardcore data profile or something like a marketing manager that has an element of data in it. Now, when you are talking, you can basically pick up these keywords, things like actionable insights, decision making, appropriate data validation, scalable process and metrics. You see what I'm saying, right? The keywords are attractive because the moment I start to throw these keywords, it's exciting because it resonates with them, right? And if you say data management best practices, like this is not one of the things that you would typically say in an interview. And that is why there's a lot of prep work that has to go behind it. So that is why I strongly suggest that you have a look at it. When they ask you about your positives or your competencies, you can say that I'm really good, I'm very detail oriented. And what that means is that for me, the accuracy, integrity of the data is very important. And the more reliable and valid the data is, the better the output. So garbage in, garbage out. That sounds like a very nice, simple, but elegant answer. So make sure to do this work of going through the profiles and having a look at it, right? I'm not saying that it is going to take you only 1 hour. You will have to spend some time. But then if you guys work as a team, I'm sure you have your own study groups, then you can share the work and really help yourself. Of course, speak to your alums and speak to your alma mater. I think that will help as well. In terms of the difference between Power BI and Tableau, I'm not really going to cover it. I'll tell you why. One is because by the time we cover Tableau between today and tomorrow, you will get a fair sense. How are they different? How are they similar? But this is available on the internet in so many places. If you just open like maybe 15, 20 of these links, you will get a fair sense in terms of what the differences are. I'm just opening one of these at EduCBA, which I like quite a lot. And here it talks about how they are different. So for example, if you look at data sources, more or less they are the same, but Tableau is considered to work better with large data, big data, but Power BI is pretty good as well, right? Okay. Then if you look at machine learning, you can see that Python machine learning capacities is inbuilt with Tableau. Python is integrated with Microsoft Azure. So even though Power BI has integration with Python, it is not very robust. The integration of Power BI with R is better compared to the integration of Power BI with Python. Similarly, as you go on, you can see that Power BI is, again, in terms of the cost factor, Power BI is very cheap. Tableau is much costlier. Plus, Tableau does not have a free version for the corporate clients. So you have to pay money for it. So my point is go through 15, 20 of these websites and you will get a very good sense of how the tools are. In fact, you can see here that they also talk about other tools. So how does a Power BI compare with Click for that matter, right? So yeah, I mean, this is like it won't take you a lot of time. It won't tell you things in a lot of detail, but that's okay, right? You will get a fair bit of idea in terms of how it works. Right. Now, the data set I'll be working on is the same data set that we were using on the first day of the Power BI training. Now, why am I taking that data set again? Is because it's a good data set, right? There's a lot we can do with it. Tomorrow, I'll be working on an HR data. That is what I've planned, that if we can cover Tableau between today and maybe half of tomorrow, then tomorrow we can work on a different data set. I have this beautiful HR data set with me. That is something I use for a lot of corporate trainings as well. Just so that you are not just working with marketing data, which we have done so far, you're also working with the sales data. But for today, we'll be working on the marketing data itself. So I'll go to Dropbox and training, XIM, files, and you have the data sets here, everyone. And I would like all of you to download this once again, the dataset marketing sales superstore. I'll share the link so that you can download it quickly like this. I will also do the same thing. So download, and we come to Tableau. As you can see, I'm also working on Tableau Public. I did have Tableau Desktop with me, for which I was paying about 56,000 per year. But then I had it for 2 years, but then none of my clients are working on it. So I realized that I don't want to spend that extra 60,000 per year. So I canceled that subscription. But in Tableau Public, there is no problem. All the visualizations, all the formulas, the parameters, everything will work. The only big difference is that you cannot save your work on your computer. Like in the case of Power BI, we can save it on our computer, right? In Tableau, you can't do that. In Tableau, you will only be able to save it on the cloud, on Tableau Public, which means that your data is also always public. So you can't work with any confidential data. So let us say you're doing an internship and you want to prepare something on Tableau. That's not really possible because the data will be confidential, and the moment you put it on Tableau Public, it is public. Okay, so let's open Tableau Public. If some of you are working on the Tableau Desktop Complete Edition, that is also okay, but I'm going to personally work on Tableau Public. Okay, now on the first screen, let's see what all we have. So on the right side, there are some how-to videos that have been given. Then there's a link to the visualization of the day and some other resources as well. Since Tableau is much, much older than Power BI, Tableau is almost 20 years old now. There's a lot of content available on it on the internet. Even though today, even Power BI has a lot. In fact, the pace of Power BI is much faster than the pace of Tableau. But Tableau has a lot of data sets available, a lot of information available and resources available. Then on the left side, you can see the most common data connectors. We have Excel, text, JSON, Access, PDF, spatial, and statistical file. But here you notice I only have 3 options: Google Drive, OData, and Web Data Connector. The reason I don't have others is because I do not have the paid version. If you had the paid version, this list would have been about 50, 60 different things, right? So there's a list of different connectors in it. So let me go to Microsoft Excel. My file is on my desktop. I'm sorry, on my downloads folder. So I'll select it, open it, and I'm sorry, I'm going to cough a little bit today. I'm just a little bit under the weather. So the moment I connect to my Excel file, which is dataset marketing, this is what we get, right? This is the first interface. Now, a lot of people ask me, oh, is this Power Query or something equivalent to Power Query? Because it looks like that, doesn't it? Where you can make changes and transformation on the data. But this is not Power Query or anything like that. In fact, here, there is very little you can do. In the top right corner, I can apply a filter. For example, maybe I just want to see the data for India. So what can I do? I can go to add. Don't do it. Very simple. I can say add, and I will say that I just want to select one of the countries And the country here would be India. Like this. And now you notice that a filter has been applied in the top right corner and the data is only for India. If you want to cancel or remove the filter, click on edit and delete it or remove it. In this window, you can do joins similar to how I showed you in Power BI and Power Query. Even though I don't have any other data set with me, if you notice the moment I bring it here, do you see how it's creating a relationship between them? This, everyone, is how you do a join. Obviously, right now, the relationship will not be created because, do you see this? I have different types of joins I can create here, but I will not be able to do it right now. Okay, so I'm going to delete this. Let's remove. And if you want to do an append, then the option is called union. Basically the same thing. In Power Query, we had done an append, if you remember, where we selected 3 files from a folder, 2011, 2012, 2013. And then we also appended 2014. So historical and current. Here we call it a union. So if I double click on it, it basically allows me to combine multiple files that are there in a folder. Other than this, I only have some very basic options like I can change the data type, like you can do in Power Query. Then look at it, duplicate, rename, copy, hide, create a calculation group, set parameter, and that's it. That is all. And you might be wondering, but where are all the other things we have in Power Query? The fill down, the column, the custom column, things like that, conditional column. This is not the tool where you do ETL. So for ETL, we have something called Tableau Prep. Tableau Prep, everyone, is a competitor to Power Query, but Power Query is not an independent tool. It's a part of Excel and Power BI, right? Similarly, as an organization, if you have Tableau, most of them have, in fact, not most of them, but some of them have Tableau Prep. In fact, but most of them don't have Tableau Prep because Tableau Prep is quite new. If I'm not mistaken, Tableau Prep only came in, I think, 2017 or 2018, something like that. So before that, organizations were stuck because for data preparation, for ETL, the limitations were there. I mean, I couldn't do a lot here. And the workflow for an organization usually would be to do ETL on Alteryx or on SQL Server and then clean the data, prepare the data, and then do the data visualization on Tableau. But then after a while, Tableau realized that there's a lot more competition. For example, Power BI came in. They also realized that the data culture of an organization is very important. So if you look at Tableau, for the last 5-6 years, they have been speaking a lot about the data culture of an organization. Right? In fact, in a lot of their events that they organize, and there are loads of them, the CXOs usually come and talk about how important it is to instill a data culture. So similar to how you have an organization culture, which is how an organization operates, the people management, the flow of information, the flow of general communication, ethics of the business. Similarly, you have a data culture, which talks about how is data managed, how to prepare, create their files, right? How do people transfer files from one person to the other? What sort of security do you have? So it's less of a IT area, more of a organizational decision. It's at a top level strategy. A CXO now has to also instill a good data culture in the organization. Right? That's why you notice there's so much about it. And over the last few years, they've really been talking about how and why you have to build a data culture. Why? Because Tableau realized that people struggled with cleaning their data, preparing their data. That is why they introduced something called Tableau Prep. In a short answer, Tableau Prep is basically the same as Power Query. Of course, there are feature differences. Hey, there are some features that are better. Power Query has some features that are better. But then by and large, for the common things that you want to do, more or less is the same thing, right? Again, you notice it's a ETL tool that allows you to create these flows, right? You can see that Tableau costs $70 per user per month, right? So it's quite a lot of money, about 6,000 rupees. And this gets you Tableau Prep as well, a copy of Tableau Prep, right? Of course, there are other types of versions as well available. Okay. So the takeaway is that on this interface, we cannot do a lot of data cleaning. Some very basic joins, append, filter I can do, but not a lot, right? But that's okay because our data is already clean, so we don't need to worry about that. At the bottom left corner, we have a sheet. So this is the option to create a sheet. Then I have an option to create a dashboard, and then I have an option to create a story. Dashboard and story are almost the same thing. It's a way you present your data, but we'll come to that after a while. For now, I will just select sheet 1. And this is like your report view, right? In Power BI, when we have a report view, this is like that. On the left, we have all our fields. So you notice that these are all blue in color. So these are called dimensions. And then below that, all these are green in color. These are called measures. Now, this is quite confusing because in Power BI, a measure refers to something completely different. A measure refers to a calculation, doesn't it? But here, if you notice, we call a measure a calculated field. So whenever you're doing a calculation, we call it a calculated field. So one more time, a measure in Power BI is a DAX calculation. A measure in Tableau simply refers to a quantitative field, like a discount, profit, quantity, sales. It's irritating that you have to denote the same word with two very different things, but can't help it. That's just how it is, right? Okay. Now, this is your area where you will create your visual. On one sheet in Tableau, you can only make one visual. Unlike Power BI, where I can have, a pie chart, a column chart, an icon, multiple things on a single page, Tableau doesn't work like that. And there is no other option. In Tableau, every sheet is one visual. So let us say I want to create a page with 5 charts on it. I'll first have to create 5 sheets. On each sheet, there will be a single chart, and then I'll have to combine it. Now, since I started working on Tableau after I learned Power BI, I didn't like it, because I felt Power BI was so much easier because it allowed you to just directly make a page with different things on it. On the other hand, in Tableau, it's much more difficult because you are expected to first make each and every visual and then combine all of it, right? But can't help it. That is how it is. Okay. On the right side, you have the charts. There are only 21 of them. Power BI has about 34 of them. But remember, there are also these custom visualization. So you have so many options available, correct? But here's the thing. Tableau only has 21. But then I have also told you that Tableau visuals are more powerful and more flexible. But then how is it possible that there are only 21 of these, right? So let me just tell you what I mean by that. Give me 2 minutes to explain this last part, then we will start working together, okay? You're unable to get the table names on the left-hand side. That's quite strange, Janvi, because are you sure you have loaded the Excel file? So from the interface, you went to Excel and selected the Excel file. Just confirm that once.
Yeah, I did that.
Okay. Can you share your screen? Let's have a look.
Yeah, just give me a second.
No, it has not been connected. So go back to data source. Do you see it says connect to data, which means that you haven't connected to a data set. Go back to data source. Just do it one more time. Right. Now go to sheet 1. At the bottom. No. Yeah. So what you did was an undo. Probably that's what happened. Just click on sheet 1 at the bottom. At the bottom of your page. No. Press Ctrl Z. No, you're going too fast. You'll have to slow down. Press Ctrl Z first. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. No, this is not correct. Go back, please. Go to the data source once again. Go back to data source, right? Can you click on the second sheet 1 and delete it, please?
This one?
No. The one where that red, yeah, correct. Just remove it. Perfect. Yeah, it will take a second or two to get removed.
Yeah.
And once that happens, now go to sheet 1 at the bottom. Perfect. All right, so I'm going to reshare my screen, everyone. And for 2 minutes, I just want to show you something, okay? There is this beautiful visualization called a Sankey chart. Okay, I'll give you an example of what it is. It's called the Sankey chart. I'm sure a lot of you would have seen it earlier in different reports and magazines and articles and consulting firm presentations. It's called the Sankey. It's a very common, very popular visual and has a lot of practicality, right? Because it shows to you the connectivity, and it also shows you the number by the width, denoted by the width. For example, look at this. This is, of course, more of an infographic, but you get the idea, right? That this is sort of what you can do with the Sankey. Now, imagine that I want to create a Sankey in Power BI. Look how simple it is. I have the same data here, by the way. Okay, I can just go to more visuals from app source. Remember, there's a store available. Then I simply come here and I go to Sankey. This is created by Microsoft themselves. It's free of cost. And let me just download the sample and show it to you. Okay, now here's the thing. Because Microsoft has kept an open platform, there are so many hundreds of visualizations available that other companies are providing, right? Most of them free of cost. For example, if I need a Sankey, do you see this? I can literally click on one button and I can create a chart like this. How cool is that? Like if I want to do this with my own data, look how simple it is. I click on the Sankey and I will, 1 second, let me go back to my original report. Let's add it. So on my Superstore data, I will just click on the Sankey. I will select my segment, sales, and market. That's it. You get this beautiful visualization that looks like this. Hold on. Okay, check this out. Do you see this? Such a nice tool for planning, right? Especially in supply chain operations, right? In fact, even for any other function, there's a lot of use case for the Sankey. Now imagine that I have to create the same visual on Tableau. Now Tableau does not have this visual inbuilt in it, right? So obviously you will have to create it. But because Tableau does not have a store like Power BI has conveniently, if you want to make a Sankey on Tableau, you will have to learn mathematics, right? Let me explain what I mean by that. So I'll go to Sankey chart. I'll just show you one of these articles that explains how to create a Sankey. Basically, what we're trying to do is create the same thing. Do you see the amount of effort it takes? First, I have to create a calculated field with an index. Then I have to write a conditional column. Then I have to create a sigmoid curve, which is an exponentiation and a t. After that, I'll have to create a bin, which is a padded. Then I'll have to create my running sums. Just keep on looking at this. Then I'll have to create my curves. After that, I'll have to show missing values. Then I'll have to do some rank changes. After that, we will again have to build a calculation. And the end result is this. That is crazy, right? Imagine how simple it was to do this on Power BI. Just go to the store, download it. But here's the trade-off. In Power BI, while you can download it, you cannot really customize it. Sure, there is some level of customizability which is inbuilt, right? But if you say, no, I want to have complete control over every single part of that visualization, you don't, because somebody else has created it. Here, on the other hand, because it has been done on Tableau yourself, you were the one who wrote literally every single formula and did all the steps. It's just going to make it so flexible. And that is why the quality of visualizations you can create on Tableau, you basically can't do in Power BI. Even though yesterday, if you remember, I showed you HTML and CSS viewer, right? Which means that now even Power BI is catching up, and there are ways in which I can recreate stuff on Power BI, which I couldn't do earlier. But it's good to know that because Power BI has a store, it's very easy to work on it. On the other hand, Tableau doesn't have a store, so you have to create everything yourself, but that also gives you more flexibility. So if I show you Tableau Sankey, look at the sort of things people are creating. And like I said, the level of customizability, this is all done on Tableau. The level of customizability here, you cannot get on Power BI because here, whoever has done it, they have basically done it themselves by putting their own formulas, right? But I hope you saw the amount of effort that is required to create something like this, right? So that's a very important point of differentiation. Tableau visuals are fantastic. I mean, they're almost as good as an infographic, something you will create on Adobe Illustrator. But the trade-off is that they're also very complex to create, like I just showed you. Right? Any questions on what I have shown you so far? Otherwise, we will continue with our first visualization. Right? So if anybody asks you, what is one of the key differences in terms of visuals between Power BI and Tableau? Power BI is much simpler, has a store, easier for beginners to work with, but not very flexible. Tableau, on the other hand, is quite steep as a learning curve, but very flexible. Okay. All right. On that note, let's create a map to begin with. So I'm just going to call it map. So what I would like to do is to plot each and every country in the world. And we have 165 of them. Now, if you look on the left side, this hierarchy has been created automatically, country, state, and city. You could have done this even in Power BI, but for that you have to do it manually. Here, the hierarchy is created automatically because Power BI detects, Tableau detects that there is a linkage between them. So all I'll do is I'll double click on country. Please do this, everyone. Just double click on country and you should be able to see this. We'll go step by step. So at any point, if you face any problem, just stop me, okay? All good. Now you notice that the moment I double click on my country, there are 5 options we have here. This is called the marks pane. You can think of it a little bit like a combination of field and formatting. So in Power BI, we have field and formatting, correct? Field is how you create the visuals. Formatting is how you format the visual. Marks is a bit of both, right? And then of course you have a filter pane, what we have in Power BI as well. Okay, now what I want to do here is, I know that my country is in the detail, okay? The moment I will select my sales and I'll put it in the size, look what happens. The size changes. Obviously, the size is relative to the sales amount, but I think the sizes are too small. Like some of these I can't even see. So I'll just go to size and increase the slider and you should get this. And after that, I'll go to color and we will add a border, right? And reduce the opacity so that it becomes a little translucent. And also I will add the sales in the color so that you get a range of dark blue to light blue. Please do this, everyone. You can see what I've done here. Sales is in the size, sales is also in the color, country is in the detail. These icons should tell you where to put all these 3 things. At any point, if you get stuck, Control Z will work really well. All good. So one more time, let me just drag it outside to remove it. So I'll just put my sales in the color and also my sales in the size, okay, like this. If you want to change the color, maybe you don't want a gradient from dark blue to light blue. Maybe you want a different palette. Then I can just go to color, edit colors, and we can choose a different palette. There are lots of palettes available here. So I'll select something interesting. My red, black diverging, right? And it looks like this. Even though I would suggest not to use a red to denote a sales value, but you get my point, right? Like this. Okay, now the question is, how does the drill down work? So we know that each country has different states in it, right? And each state has different cities in it. Now I can't just click on it. If you notice, when I click on it, there are a lot of options that I get here. So I'm going to click on this plus sign in the country. And if I click on the plus sign, it shows me all the states. And if I click on it one more time on the state, it shows me all the cities like this. Now I know what you're thinking, that why would I want to see all the states at the same time? And that is exactly why you can use a filter. So let me apply the filter like we did it in Power BI. So I will select my region, right click, and then I will select show filter. And you notice all the regions are here. So I'll just select Canada, for example. So now it highlights Canada. If I select, let's say, South Asia, now it shows me South Asia. So please try this. And the cities as well. So one more time, let me remove it. So I want to add a filter. I will simply click on the region, right click, and I will select show filter, right? And you get the filter here. So if I select, let's say, North Africa, now we get North Africa. Also in this legend, you can see the minimum and the maximum value. So from 3 to 38,440, right? And I'll show you something even cooler than this. So what if I keep my sales as a filter as well? So right click and show filter, okay? And let me remove this region filter. Let's select all the different countries in the world. Now, I know that the range is from 20 to 22 lakh 97,000 that you can see here. So the country with the minimum sales is 20 and the country with the maximum sales is 22 lakh 97,000. So the moment I move the slider, you see this effect, everyone? How beautiful is that? You can't do this on Power BI. Right? Amazing, right? You just look how nice this is. Okay? You can do it the other way around as well, like this. Please try this out. Any questions, anyone so far? And the best part is that on Tableau, we even have a full screen mode. Like you have a F5 on PowerPoint that goes to the full screen mode. Here we have a F7, right? So this is great because Power BI unfortunately does not have this feature, but Tableau does. You can also change the shape. For example, right now the shape is an automatic shape. So if I click on it, you notice I can have different shapes. Now, obviously, putting in a bar doesn't really make any sense, right? It's going to look like this. But if I make it, let's say, a square, I mean, I'm not saying it's a good idea to do it, but just to know that, oh, this is possible, right? And then if I click on shape, I have different shapes available here. And the best part is that you can even import your own shapes in Tableau. So for example, let's say I have an asterisk like this. I would like to show you something on YouTube. My Tableau playlist is not very detailed. The reason is because I don't do a lot of work on Tableau. None of my clients work on it. But because I teach it at business schools, I still have some content on it. So look at this part. This video explains you how you can use your own custom shapes in Tableau. It's not very difficult. Basically, what you have to do here is you first have to create a map, select the shape, and then you notice that I will first go to PowerPoint. I will import an icon, or you can download it from a website, either way. So for example, I have these. I will save it on my computer as a PNG image or as an SVG image. But where am I saving it? I'm saving it in this folder in this PC documents called My Tableau repository. And there is a shapes folder here. And I will save it in this. Once I do that, now you notice it will appear in your custom palette. And that's it. You can make something like this. How cool is that? You can't do this in Power BI, by the way. Right? Something like this. Okay, so let me just change it back to a circle, if that's okay, like this. Okay, here we go. Any questions, anyone? So what happens is that after you start to make a visual, you suddenly realize that there are so many things happening. Country is the detail, sales is the size, sales is also the color, region is in my filter, sales is also in my filter, latitude, longitude is auto-generated. So the moment I double click on the country, this is automatically generated. These are called pills because they look like a medicine pill. So all of these blue and green ones, these are called pills, okay? All right, let's make one more map, but I'll do something a little different this time. Double click on country and double click on sales value. Everyone, please do this. So double click on country and double click on sales value. just like we did before. But you will notice that if you double click on sales, it goes into the size. Okay, let me remove that. I'm removing this. After I keep my country, the size of each bubble is the same because I have just highlighted the countries. I'm not showing a color or a size, right? So if I keep my sales in the size changes. But look what happens. If I keep my sales in the color, then I get this. And this is a little different, right, to what we had before. The difference is that we have two types of maps. We have the map and the symbol map, right? So for example, if I put my sales in the size, right, we're getting this, we're getting a symbol map. If I put my sales in the color, we are getting a shape map like this. And the same thing, if I go down to the state level, now it highlights all the states as well. I can even zoom in. But if you go down to the city level, it will not show the boundary of the city. It will only show you a dot. Okay, so that you will have to keep in mind. Please try this, everyone. Sales is in the color and country is in the detail, like this. Yeah, just wait for a minute or two. Right? Now let me show you something very interesting. If I keep my latitude one more time in fact, my longitude one more time in the columns, see what happens. If I keep my longitude one more time in the columns, it gives me two columns. How cool is that? Why am I even doing it? Because now you have two charts. Basically, it's the same chart, but it's broken into two parts. If you notice, one more time. Right now, there is only one map we have created, but the moment I put my longitude in the columns, do you see this? Now I get two charts, the first one and the second one. So in the first one, I just want to select sales and country, but in the second one, I will remove the sales and I will keep the profit in the column. Let me just mute everyone. Okay, check this out. Now, do you see what I'm doing right now? This is so cool because now it tells me on the left side that these are all the countries in the world, which ranges from 20 till 22,97,000. And on the right side, we have the profit, which ranges from minus 98 to 286, because there are a lot of countries that are incurring a loss as well. For example, do you see this? Nigeria has a sales of 54,000, but a profit of minus 80, right? Same here, right? Let me go down to my state level. Again, if you notice, if you look at, do you see this? If I look at different states, I can see, okay, I have to do it here as well. 1 second. Let me go to my state. Okay, check this out. So now it tells me that if I look at Rajasthan, sales of 30,000, profit of 7,000, like this. So please try this out, everyone. Let me know if you have any question. So that's the thing. I hope you see that Tableau is a very polished tool, in some ways more polished and fun to work compared to Power BI. But it's actually quite tricky, because you need to know exactly what you're doing. When you look at a dashboard and you see somebody doing it, it doesn't seem difficult. But the fact that we have to put the longitude one more time, then there are two marks that have been created, right? It does take a lot of careful attention to learn it. It's not something you can just pick up in 1 or 2 hours. Any questions? Anyone? There are obviously different types of maps available. So if I go to map, I have the option for a background map. There are lots of options here. So I have a normal, which is like this. Then I have a dark like this. Then I have street, which is like Google Maps, right? And you can even install your own maps in it, right? So you have satellite, which is Google Maps, in fact, like this one. This one looks really nice. And you can also import more maps like this. Power BI also has many maps in it. So it's not that there's a big difference. Tableau uses Mapbox by default. But even in Power BI, you have Mapbox integration. If I can show you, in Power BI, we also have Mapbox integration. So you can see here that using Mapbox, which is a map provider, I can create these, interesting looking maps on Power BI. A lot of options are available. It's probably not as detailed as Tableau, but I haven't tested it, so I can't say that with confidence. But definitely more detailed than what you get natively on Power BI. Right? Like, look at this one. This is called a chloropeth, like this. So you can't make this on Power BI by default, but you can make it using Mapbox. I'm not sure how much it costs, but that you will have to check. So what have they given us? They've given us a GeoJSON. We needed Mapbox token and a Power BI account. Yeah. Great. Any questions, anyone? Okay. Let's do one more example on a calculation. If all of you remember, we had calculated the profit margin, right? Which was the sum of profit divided by the sum of sales. Let us see how to do that in Tableau as well. So I'll create a new sheet. I'll call it profit margin. Now we don't need to make a fancy chart for this. I can just make a table, nothing else. So I will double click on market, double click on sales, and double click on profit. Please do this, everyone. Double click on all the three, double click on market, double click on profit, and double click on sales value. You should get this table like this. Once you have done it, I'll show you how to create a calculated field. So remember, a measure in Tableau is called, it is referring to the quantitative field, which is your discount profit quantity sales, all the ones in green color. A measure in Power BI refers to a calculation. How do you do a calculation in Tableau? For this, we go to analysis and we select create calculated field. So please click on analysis and select create calculated field. So you get this box. This is sort of your DAX measure, but it's very different. Like the basic things you expect will be there. So the length, left, right, mid, lookup, all of that will be there. But there are some different functions. Like here we have a lookup, which we don't have in Power BI, right? Then here we have this window functions, which we have in SQL, but we don't have in Power BI. Here we have a ZM that we don't have in Power BI. Then in Power BI, we have functions like previous year, but we don't have that here, right? So my point is that, yes, there are some common areas, but the function might be different. But obviously, most of the common business calculations that you want to do, of course, you can do it both on Power BI and Tableau. But Power BI is much more sophisticated when it comes to calculations. So I'm going to call it my profit margin. And this will be the sum of profit divided by the sum of sales. Now remember, in Power BI, the formula is like an Excel formula where you put an equal to sign and you write the formula. Here you don't do that. In Tableau, an equal to sign is neither required nor allowed. So you can't start any formula with an equal to sign. You will have to start writing it straight away. So the sum of my profit divided by the sum of my sales value, like this. No equal to signs. Why is that? There's no reason. It's just how it is. So sum of profit divided by the sum of sales, right? Very simple. Once again, how did we do it? We went to analysis, calculate field, and then we wrote profit margin, sum of profit divided by sum of sales. And once you click on OK, you will notice that the profit margin has come here in the measure. And if you look carefully, do you see this? There is a equal to sign before this hash. So that tells us that this is not a field that was given from the data. This is something we have created. Okay. In case you want to see the formula or if you want to edit it, you can just right click and then go to edit and you can edit the formula like this. So there is no formula bar in Tableau like you have in Power BI, but this is how it works. So we will now just select the profit margin and double click and you get the profit margin. Now, why does it look like a zero? Because this should be a percentage, right? So to convert it into a percentage, I'll click on the drop down and I will go to default properties and I will select number format. Very simple. Profit margin, right click, default properties and number format. And that's it. Just convert it into a percentage, as simple as that. And now it tells you the profit margin. Basically the same thing that we used to do on Power BI, we can do it here as well. So yeah, I mean, that's how you do calculations in Tableau. Any question? Anyone? So I'll repeat what I've done. We went to, let me do it one more time. So I double click on market, double click on profit, and double click on sales value, right? Now remember, this measure value here and here will come automatically. You don't have to do anything. Look what I did. I have just done a double click and a double click. This is more advanced, so I can't really explain it right now, but you guys, can figure it out yourself. And for the profit margin, we went to analysis and calculated field. And the calculation we wrote was sum of profit divided by sum of sales. Then we went to the default property number format and we selected percentage. And that's it. Now, once you put the profit margin here, it will give you the profit margin as well. Quick recap of the maps as well. In the map, you can see that country is in the detail. The long in the lat comes automatically. Sales is the color. Sales is also the size. You can choose the color by clicking on this, size by clicking on this. You can also make different shapes by going to the shape option. You can even insert your own custom shapes in Tableau, like I showed you. We have two filters, region and sales, which is like a slicer that we did in Power BI. So sales and region like this. In the second map, we put the longitude 2 times. So from here, we dragged it into the columns and we get 2 of these. So in the first one, we have created sales and country. In the second one, we have created profit and country like this, right? And then of course, the profit margin. So just think about everything we have done so far. Tell me if you have any question. If not, we'll take a break and then come back and continue. So tell me how, so far, what's your take on it? How do you like Tableau? Do you like it better than Power BI? Or do you feel Power BI is better? Anyone? Yeah, I mean, in terms of visual, I would agree that Tableau visuals are fantastic. I mean, if I take you to the Power BI gallery, everyone, if I take you to the Power BI gallery, please look at this and also look at the Tableau gallery. And you will see what I mean. So if you look at the Power BI gallery and we have the Tableau gallery, there's a huge day and night difference. This is my Power BI gallery. Very cool, very elegant, very professional, but it's still, combo charts, boxes, tree map, line chart, right? Like this. But on the other hand, if you go to Tableau, these are like infographics. I mean, check out some of these. Sure, you have dashboards that are similar to Power BI, but there is a lot more that you can do with it. That level of flexibility you will not get with Power BI. And that's why people opt for Tableau. But here's the thing. The reality is that in the corporate, nobody cares about visuals at all. This is all great when you want to create a portfolio. But the truth is that when you're working with a client, they just want simple charts that are easy to understand. All of this looks very fancy, but nobody really does all of this, right? Plus, Power BI is very good because it's very deeply integrated with the Microsoft ecosystem. Power Apps, Power Automate, Power Pages, right? Plus, Power BI is an open platform, so you have custom visuals, JavaScript, Excel, PowerPoint, all of that is there. But sure, I mean, both tools are excellent tools, but there are differences between them. So for example, in finance, I would typically not be using Tableau because in finance, I have to do a lot of modeling. Tableau is not good at that. Tableau is wonderful at visuals, but that's about it. I mean, look at something like this. I mean, I can't imagine doing something like this on Power BI. It's just not possible. But Tableau, like I said, is almost like a design tool where what is in your imagination, with some effort, you can actually do it. This looks very cool, right? Just check this out. Right? Perfect. I think on that note, we will take a small break. We will come back and I will continue with a few more visualizations. And we will also look at something called parameters. Parameters you can use even in Power BI, even though I did not cover it because now we are doing it in Tableau, but that is what we'll be covering. So we'll do a few more visuals and then we will see. I mean, today I'm going to complete Tableau more or less. If you feel you want to do a little more of Tableau, I'm happy to do it. There's a lot that can be covered. But if you feel, no, we want to do a different data set on Power BI tomorrow, we will discuss as a group what is more feasible. Okay, perfect. So it's 11:36. Let's take a small break and we will come back and continue. So 15 minutes, everyone. Let's come back at 11:51. Okay, sharp 15 minutes. All right, welcome back, everyone. Let's continue. Okay. So far, we have created the map. We have created a map with two paths in it, which has the longitude 2 times. But this also means that you can make multiple maps. Let me explain what I mean by that. Imagine that I create a map. You don't need to do it because it's very simple, but I just want to show it to you. Imagine I want to make a map for India. Okay. So I'm going to double click on country. I'm going to double click on, no, not double click. I'm going to put the sales in the color. Now this shows me all the countries in the world, but I just want to see India, nothing else. How do we do that? I will put my country in the filter, similar to how we did it in Power BI. And we will say that I want to select none, and I only want to select India. Apply. Okay. So a filter has been applied. Now I'll go down to my state level as well. Looks great. But now I want to make 9 maps. So I want to make one map each for the combination of the category and the segment. That means I will keep my business segment in the columns and I will keep my category in the rows. How cool is that? Do you see this, everyone? What I've done is I have managed to make 9 maps that presents each unique combination of the segment and the category. For example, this is what? This is office supplies consumer, right? And of course, there is a common filter. So if I select my sales and show as a filter, look at this. Do you see this? How I can move it around? So this is telling me that these are the only states where there has been a total sales value of over 6,000, right? Similarly, if I decrease it, this tells me that these are the only combinations of the states where there has been a sales between 6,700 and 9,200. Do you see this? 8829, 9133. I mean, imagine how handy this is for a business user, because when you're selling multiple products across multiple segments, you will now be able to basically, plot only the filtered data. So I was reading earlier today about the auto sales, right? I mean, I just bought a new car, so I'm constantly reading about automotive news now. But look at this. Hyundai sales for July 2022 came today. The report, they have sold 50,000 units. So they, I believe, sold about 48,000 last year, right? Something like that. Yeah, so they sold about 48,000 last year. They have sold 50,500. So a volume gain of 1.5 and a 3.06% sales growth, basically like this. Now imagine that as an organization, when the CXO is sitting and they want to see, okay, how have the brands performed individually and how have the brands performed across different regions of the country? Look how handy something like this will be. Rather than making one map and then I have to go to each and every state and have a look at it, This is so smart, right? Because here I can say, okay, how many states are there which have sold at least 250 units? Or how many states are there which have not even sold 50 units? So maybe there's a dealer which is underperforming and you want to highlight that. So a map like this would make it really easy to do that. Any question on this, anyone? See, again, there's a lot of practice that will go into it. The good part about Tableau is that it is so flexible. The bad part is that it is very difficult to learn, and I'll tell you why. If you try to keep one of the fields into a box which doesn't make sense, what does Power BI do? I'm sure all of us saw that. It gives you an error, or it doesn't even allow you to keep a field in one of the options. In Tableau, if you do something nonsensical, it will almost never stop you. It will almost never give you an error. So what it will end up doing is it will just end up creating a garbage chart. Let me show you what I mean by that. In the color, okay, watch this carefully. In the color, I've kept my sales. What if I keep my country in the color? It just changes. It is not stopping me and telling me, no, no, Havish, if you do this, your chart will change, or it gives me some prompt. Nothing. It just changes it. Okay, what if I keep my country? Okay, watch carefully. What if I keep my country in my size? Again, this is completely nonsensical. This output doesn't make any sense, but it is not telling you what error you made. And now you're stuck because you don't know what error you made. And you have to go and figure out, oh, you know what? I can't keep the country in this size. Power BI is more rigid, and it will basically stop you from doing something wrong. And if at all you do something wrong, it will give you an error. It will basically say, you know what? I can't plot this. Tableau doesn't stop you from doing anything. You can take any one of these things and keep it anywhere and it will work. For example, if I keep my profit, right, in the detail, nothing happened, right? I'm still able to see the same visual. So you might say, but what is the point of keeping the profit in the detail? That's the that's what makes it complex. Subcategory in the color, just look at it. Again, it did something garbage. It is not stopping us. Why am I telling all these things to you? Because you have to be ready for this. When you're working on Tableau, please keep in mind that today I'm guiding you through everything. I'm telling you, click here, do this, do that. Don't do this. But when you're doing it on your own, be prepared to do a lot of stupid stuff because you can only learn Tableau with a lot of trial and error. That's true for everyone. So don't be afraid of doing that or be anxious that you're not doing it properly. That is the one and the only correct way of learning Tableau. Okay, a lot of trial and error. The small things. Okay, we want to create a more advanced chart now. So let me tell you what I want to create. I basically want to have a column chart, something like this. And in the column chart, we will keep a reference line like this. And I would like the reference line to go up and down. Okay. As the reference line is moving up and down, the colors should change automatically. If all of you remember, we had done this in the Excel charts example as well, where I showed you that you can have a reference line and different colors. So it's something like that. We have not covered this in Power BI because I wanted to show this in Tableau, but I have a video on YouTube that explains how to do this in all the three tools, Excel, Power BI, and Tableau. Let's do it together. I'm going to call this my subcategory colors. Okay. Please make a new sheet, everyone, and call it subcategory colors. right? So I'm going to double click on my subcategory, which is here. That makes a table, not to worry. I will double click on sales value and that will make a table with 2 columns in it. But we would like to convert this into a column chart. So we will go to show me and we will change it into a column chart. But you notice that there is no column chart. There is only a bar chart. Not to worry, we click on the bar chart and then I can go to this button called swap. The shortcut is Control W and that will reverse it. That will make it a column chart. Or you can also do it directly. I can put my subcategory in the columns and my sales in the rows. And that also works. So there are 2 different ways of creating the chart. But just make this one, please. Subcategory in the column and sales in the rows. Okay. Now, if you look at this, the x-axis, it doesn't look very good. I can't read all the names of the subcategories. So we want to rotate it. It's very simple. Right click and rotate label like this. One more time. Right click and rotate label. Okay. Now I would like to create a reference line, basically a horizontal line like this. But we would like that line to be dynamic. So I will first show you how to make it manually, but don't do this because we want to make it dynamic. If I want to make a manual line, let's say a line at 1 lakh, what can I do? Or rather 10 lakhs. I can just right click on the y-axis and I will say add reference line. And it's very simple. I will add a line. What is the line we want? Either you put the average of the sales, something like this. So it automatically computes the average of all the 70. But I don't want this. So I'll right click and remove it. Let's do it one more time. So right click and add line. And we want to put a label. We want to put a value of our choice. So I will go to the value and I will say, no, I'll go here and say a constant. And we will keep it as 10 lakhs. Like this. Very simple. And you notice you get a line for 10 lakhs. That wasn't difficult, but the thing is, we would like that number to be dynamic. So we should be able to decide what number we want. So let me cancel this because we don't want this line. Because we want to take a user input, we want to create a parameter. That is something I showed you in the Excel workshop for the first 2 days as well. That whenever you're working on a model, data visualization, anything, you always have to give the user as much freedom as possible. Wherever you feel that they want to, tweak the numbers a little bit and see the simulation, you should do that. A user should never have to come back to you and say, okay, can you change the 2.5 into 2.6? Can you increase this by 80 basis points? They ideally should be able to do it on their own. So how do we do it? I will just right click in this white area and create a parameter. That's one way. Or you can click on the small drop down. This is better. Here you have both the options. So I have the option for a calculated field, which we have already done. And I also have the option for a parameter. So I'll click on that. Now it says, what is the parameter? So I'm going to call this my reference line. or let's just call it my benchmark. Okay. What type of data is it? I want it to be an integer, which is a range between 1 and let's say 15 lakhs. Please do this, everyone. Click on the drop down, create a parameter, and then this is what you should create. All good. Once you click on OK, you notice at the bottom left corner that we have a benchmark parameter. So let me hide this visual option by clicking on the Show Me button. We will right click on the benchmark and show the parameter. Just like we were creating a filter, now we want to show the parameter. Everyone, please do this. Right click and show the parameter. Now you notice that I can change this all the way from 1 to 15 lakhs, which is great. But I want this number to come on the chart as a benchmark line, as a reference line. That's very simple. I will click on the y-axis, right click, and we will select add reference line. But we don't want the average of sales. We also don't want a constant like we had done before with 10 lakhs. I will click on the drop down and I will say that I want the benchmark. That means the value that has been selected here will come into the reference line like this. In the label, I will show the value, right? And do you see this, everyone? 5,35,000. How cool is that? So as I change this, do you see what's happening? My line is also moving up and down. So please try this out. Let me know if you have any questions. Please try this. All good? Now the only thing left is we have, okay, let's look at the steps. First, I went to create parameter. What did we create? Like this. We created a parameter called the benchmark, which is an integer between 1 and 15 lakh. I can also make a step size of, let's say, 10,000. So it moves only in increments of 10,000, right? Like this. Okay. The next thing is I did a right click and show parameter. So the parameter comes here in the top right corner. And then we want to add it to the reference line, which is right click, add reference line, and then I simply added this benchmark. The only thing left is we need a condition so that the value below this reference line is in one color and the value above is in a different color. Okay, let's see how we do that. So I will create a calculated field, click on the drop down and a calculated field, and we will call this subcategory colors. We will say if my sum of sales is less than the benchmark, then I would like my result to be A, else I would like my result to be B. And then you put an end. Now, if you notice, the syntax of the if statement is very different in Tableau. If you do this on DAX, it's very similar to Excel, but here in Tableau, it's quite different. But thankfully, they have given you an example here. This is almost like programming where we have a if, then, else. Power Query also has something similar to this. So please try this out. If the sum of sales is less than the benchmark, then A, otherwise B. All good. And once you've done this, that's it. You have your subcategory colors. Just drag it into the color, and how cool is that? Let me also click on the color and change the colors. So I'll make A, which is above, as a pink and the ones below as a green. Check this out. So as I move my reference line, do you see what's happening? Numbers above and below the reference line will be in a different color, everyone. Now, the same thing I have also explained on my YouTube video. It's not there on the teachable course, but it's there in the YouTube video. So if you look at my Power BI playlist, there is an example on dynamic reference line. Check this out. So in this video, I've explained how to do this on Tableau, which we just did, how to do this on Excel, which also we had done partly, and also how to do this on Power BI. The approach in Power BI is a little different. There we don't have a parameter as such. We have to create something called a what if scenario with a selected value, but the entire thing has been explained in the video. This is how you create a parameter on Power BI, very similar to Tableau. Right? So once again, like I said, the focus has to be on learning the approach, not the tool. If you have confidence that you can do it in one of these tools, you should be able to do it in the other tools as well, right? So if tomorrow somebody says, can you do it on Click or on Google Data Studio? Of course I can. I will learn, I'll Google it, and I'll figure it out. Because the approach, create a parameter, put it in the reference line dynamically, and then write a condition and put it in the colors. That's something I have to do in all the tools. Any questions, anyone? Right? And let me show you something that I'm sure you all must have seen that. It's called the packed bubble chart. So this can be made on different tools. You can make it on Python, even on Power BI as a custom visualization. But let me show you how to do this on Tableau. It's very simple. If I go to show me, you notice we have a packed bubble option here. All you have to do is, I will double click on my subcategory, double click on my sales value, and select the packed bubble. As simple as that. How cool is that? Now, maybe if you want to change this, for example, right now sales is the size. If I remove it, then it looks like this because they're all the same size, correct? So let's say I keep the profit margin in the color, okay, and the sales in the size. Do you see what I'm doing, everyone? There are two things that we are representing. The size denotes, right? The size denotes the size of the top line, which is 15 lakhs. But the color denotes the profit. For example, why is it that appliances is a smaller circle, but chairs is a lighter color? Because here, if you notice, the sales is 10 lakh, profit is 14%, but here the sales is 15 lakh. So the circle is a little bigger, but the color is lighter because the profit margin is 9.35. So look at the way we can play around with two variables. So one denotes the size and the other one denotes the profit margin. Of course, if you want to break it, if I want to keep my segment in the columns, it will also create 3 of these for me, right? It's pretty cool. So please try this out, everyone. You have everything with you: sales, subcategory, profit margin, and the segment. And we have selected the packed bubble chart. Right? Any questions, anyone? And of course, you can play with the sales slicer as well. So if I keep the sales as a filter, do you see what I'm doing now? I can just move it and look what's happening. Such a beautiful way of presenting the data. Like these are all the small transactions between 0 and 13,000, or rather below 13,000, right? Like this. Similarly, these are my big ticket transactions. So all of these are in the consumer. So you notice, if I look at transactions above 481,000, most of them are in consumer except one, which is in corporate, which is phones, right? But if I look over 600,000, there are only 4 of these. All 4 are in consumer, like this. So you can apply filters even in Power BI, but visually how they look in Tableau is much more sophisticated. And like I said, right now it's a circle, but if you change the shape to something else, you see it's not stopping you from doing that. And that's very confusing, because how do you even know if it's supposed to do that or not? Look at this. Like, it doesn't even make any sense. What am I supposed to do with this, right? But that's the thing. If you don't know exactly what you're doing, then it will end up creating something wrong. Like, look at this. It's so easy to go wrong about it, right? And it's very difficult to understand what's happening. That hence a lot of trial and error is required every month. Okay. So I'll make it a circle and you get this. Okay, let's look at a forecast as well. The reason I did not cover forecasting in Power BI is because the inbuilt tools for forecasting are very bad, right? You basically only have exponential smoothing. That's it. Of course, you have custom visuals, but they use R in Power BI. Here, the options are a little better. It's not the most sophisticated list of options. We are not competing with a Python or an R here, but it's okay for the general business user. So what I want to do is, okay, just watch carefully, then I'll give you time to practice. I will select my order date. Okay, I'm going to put it in the columns. Everyone, order date in the columns. And this is blue in color. I will select my sales and put it in the rows. So you get a trend line. So far, so good. Nothing very complicated. What if I want to see at my month level? So I just click on the plus sign. And do you see what it did? This is quite odd. Like, why is it breaking my years into 4 parts? I don't want that. I just want to see the level of granularity at the month level. Like, this is something very odd. Why would I want this? Remember what we did in Power BI, where we said that we expand the arrow? To do that, what I'll do is, let me first remove this. First, you will have to convert this year from a blue into a green. That means I don't want a dimension. I want to use the year as a measure. So the moment it becomes green in color, now when I click on the plus sign and the plus sign, do you see this? It is showing you a month. It's a little tricky in the beginning because Power BI doesn't have this complication. But here you notice that a year can be a dimension and a measure as well. I've explained all of this in my course in a lot of detail. I will put my order date one more time, okay, in the rows, and it makes something like this. This is again not what we want because it is basically breaking it down like this. So in this month, I will change it back to a normal month. And this, everybody, is what we want. Please check this out. And I would like all of you to make this, please. So please see what I'm doing. In fact, let me make the month here. I'm sorry. So both of them should be blue in color. Okay. And don't worry if the first time you make some mistake. That's all right. Just get comfortable with it. Month as a blue pill, year as a blue pill, and sales next to it. This is what I want everyone to do. Okay, now I know we are taking a little more time, but I'll just close with this example. We'll repeat it tomorrow if required. I will go to the analytics option here in the top left corner, and it's very simple. I have an option called forecast, and I will just drag it into the visualization like this. And something went wrong. I don't know why it's coming like this. Hold on. Yeah, you know what? Let's not do it this way. My bad. Let's keep it as month and let's keep something else here. My apologies. I don't think the forecast will work that way. Let's keep it as market and let me keep the forecast one more time. Okay, what am I doing wrong? Let me think. It says that cannot be added because the date cannot derive from the fields in this view. That's odd. I haven't done anything wrong. Okay, let me think. Let me change it to the year. Okay, quarter and month. Okay, here we go. Yeah, it's working now. Okay, so everyone, you can follow what I've done. Month should be a green pill, okay, not a blue pill. Market is here, right, in the rows, 5 of them. And then we have the sales value. And you can see there is a forecast that is being drawn here, right, like this. If you want to edit the type of forecast being created, I can just right click and go to forecast and go to forecast options. And there are a lot of options given here. So we have things like automatic model, seasonality, custom models. Of course, it's beyond the scope of this training, but if you go online, Tableau has explained all of this in a lot of detail. And as you can see, it explains everything around how forecasting works. It's quite a lot of reading. It's not something you can read in a minute. You'll have to spend a lot of time going through everything. Right? But yeah, this is what we did. So one more time, month is a green pill. The market is coming in the rows, and then we have the sales coming here, right? Like this. So it's creating forecast. Right? Of course, I can choose the number of years as well. If you notice, I can increase the forecast to 3 years if I want to, like this. There is also a shortcut called Control plus E. In Excel, we use Control E for a flash fill, remember? But here, when you press Control E, it gives you a description of the sheet. So it tells you different details and forecast summaries, right? Again, this is all the statistics behind it. So I'll not get into it right now, but in case you're interested, you can have a look at this. Control E is this option, describe sheet, in the worksheet option. Yeah, so that would be a last example for today. Let me also save the file so that we can continue tomorrow. You can't save it on your computer, like I said before. So you will have to save it on Tableau Public, everyone. If you have the student license, then you can save it on your computer. But if you're working on the public license, then you can only save it on the cloud, which is what I'm doing right now. And I want to call this 02 August 2022. As you can see, it's getting published to Tableau Public. And once that happens, you can see your dashboard online like this. For some reason, by default, you only see the active sheet. You don't see all the other sheets. You have to enable that. So if I go to settings, there's an option called show sheets. I don't know why they've done it like this, but that's what you have to do. If you enable the show sheets option, then all the sheets are visible like this. Okay. Perfect. And because it's a public profile, you can also go to share and just share this link with other people. I'll do that right now and send it to you, right? And all of you can open it. That's the best part. So the shareability is very easy. In the case of Power BI, you cannot share it as a link unless you have a corporate account. With a corporate account, you can share it publicly as well. Perfect. Any questions, anyone? My Tableau profile doesn't have a lot of content on it. As you can see, I do have a few dashboards here and there, but it's not a lot because I don't work on Tableau a lot. Even though this one is quite good, this is a training I had done at IIMK in April. This was, of course, much more detailed because we had a lot more time, but you can see the sort of things we were creating in that dashboard. Look at this, for example. Cool. In any case, you all have the Tableau course with you on Teachable, so you can have a look at that. That covers everything right from the absolute basic in a lot of detail. In fact, in the next, hopefully in the next week or so, I will be updating the Tableau course as well. It's been pending for a while, but I'm going to make sure to do it now. It's been quite a while since I did it. So I'm going to upload new lectures and you will get free access to it because you already have the Teachable account. You have access to the Tableau course. The moment the new courses get uploaded, it will automatically reflect in your account. Perfect. Any questions? Anyone? Right. So I hope all of you are feeling comfortable with both Power BI and Tableau now. Of course, the similarity and the differences you will understand better with time. And that's why on my YouTube playlist, you notice that there are a lot of videos I have where I explain the same topic on Tableau and on Power BI. Just to give you one example, just one more minute. So just to give an example, if I go to Power BI, remember we had done the example on the year-over-year change yesterday in DAX. What if you want to do the same thing in Tableau? Check this out. Do you see this? In Power BI, what is the formula that we write? It looks like this. We had done this. Current year, previous year, like this, correct? In Tableau, what do we write? We write Zn sum of sales minus lookup Zn sum of sales minus 1 divided by. So basically what I'm trying to tell you is that you can do it in Excel on a pivot table. You can do it on Power BI and you can also do it on Tableau. So I also like to test myself. Even though I don't really work on Tableau as a consultant, I like to know these things, right? So I challenge myself and I go online and I create a problem and I say, okay, how would you do the same thing in Tableau as well? Like I did with the reference time, I have done the same thing with the YY growth as well. So even for all of you, I think this is a very good approach where you work on one task and you try to do the same thing, the same data set on both tools, maybe even on Excel. That's a very nice way to present it to someone, right? To say that, see, this is my Excel dashboard, this is my Power BI dashboard, this is my Tableau dashboard. So it looks very nice to be able to compare and contrast all the three. Like here, I'm explaining how you can do complex calculations in DAX, which is called level of detail calculations, right? So this is how you do it in Tableau. This is how you do it in Power BI. Perfect. Excellent. I think that's all from my side. I will see all of you tomorrow. So tomorrow we will just close Tableau with a few more things. I want to show you tool tips. I want to show you how to combine everything into a dashboard. once we've done that, we will have some time left and we will spend the time working on an HR dashboard. Perfect. Okay. Thank you, everyone. See you tomorrow at the same time.
Thank you, sir. Good night, sir.
Thank you,
Good
sir.
night.